ahead and tell me a little bit about, where you're from and what you do.
Well, I'm from Seattle, Washington. I worked in radio up there for a long, long time, and about a year or so ago, a little over a year ago, I got a call from a couple of guys that were starting this project called Revolt, and I was not aware of Revolt. I didn't know what it was or what they were working on, and what they described to me sounded like a dream job.
Yeah.
It sounded like they were creating a company, not just a TV station, but an entire media company that was down to support art, that
Right.
wanted to go out and they wanted to find young, interesting, creative people and expose what they're doing to the entire world. And there's a guy named Sean Combs. I call him Mr. I'm uncomfortable calling him anything but Mr. Combs. That was involved. There was a guy named Andy Schoen who used to run MTV back in the day and has a lot of experience that was involved. It seemed like the right people with the right mission and the right amount of motivation, and it was a no-brainer to join that team and try to get good art exposed. Gosh, we do a ton of stuff. There are artists, as you can imagine, get in touch with us every single day. We are not just sitting back and letting people come to us. We are actively pursuing the artists that we are interested in as well. We are all at Revolt fans of music, and not just casual fans of music. We are deep fans of music, and we have lived this life and worked in this world for a long, long time. And so using that collective experience in whether or not it's particular genres, or using that experience kind of in the world that we've worked for so long, we go from person to person, from band to band, from town to town, with that finger on that pulse, and kind of grab what we need to grab and pick out what we think is the best, the rising up, the cream of the crop, and we showcase that.
So what sets those artists apart? What sets them to be the cream of the crop?
For me, it is creativity, and it is artists that are unique, artists that are doing something interesting. It's actually super easy. You think it would be a hard thing to put into words, and I won't curse, even though that's usually what I do when I describe this. If you watch something and you feel it, if you're affected by it, it's doing its job, and that's what we want to expose. And not that big, huge, very well-known artists don't do that, because they absolutely do. And that is a focus of ours in some way, shape, or form. It's the younger, kind of cutting-edge artists that kind of need that voice and that extra push that we're super excited about. So if you just, we've all done it. It's a tough thing to describe. When you're watching a music video or you're listening to a song and you feel it in the gut, or I get tingles in my head. I feel like I'm having a stroke, but I'm not. I'm like an actual reaction to a song. A piece of art makes you feel like that. That's what we want to go out there and represent. We just got done talking to two artists. We're on this crazy bus tour right now, where we have gone all around the country in this Revolt Nation bus, kind of spreading the word of Revolt, talking to people, shaking hands. And a big part of that is finding those artists that we've been talking about this entire conversation. And we're making a documentary. We were making little shorts. We were having them live on our flagship show, Revolt Live, and we are doing that in each and every town. So in Seattle, we did an indie rock band named Iskadaf, which two guys that have been in bands in and around Seattle for a little while that literally practice in the back of a coffee shop. Is there anything more Seattle than having your practice space in the back of a coffee shop? So we went back there, we hung out with them for a couple of hours. It's freezing cold. They played some songs. We just talked about music. We talked about why they love music, why it's so important to them, why out of all of the ways that people become creative in this world, painting, sculpting, building stuff out of Legos, whatever, why music was the right thing for them and why it touches them in the same way it kind of touches all of us. And so that was great. And then we went to the city's central district and we talked to a hip-hop artist named Raz Simone. And he is a 24-year-old kid. He was just the first person to sign to Leo Cohen's new venture, 300. And he's been doing it on his own for a long, long time. He's just at that point where he's starting to get noticed a little bit. And he's a Seattle guy. He is an artist that is making music that we're interested in. So we are on. I do, actually. It's so funny. I always think that there is, and I'm going to leave somebody out, so someone's going to get mad, I'm sure. But I always feel like there's this handful of towns in the U.S. that always have healthy music. and it's just the way the community is set up to support each other and to help that music thrive. Seattle's definitely one of those towns. Without question, Austin is one of those towns. New York, clearly, is one of those towns. I think Minneapolis is one of those towns. For a long time, Athens, Georgia was one of those towns. These are just communities where music is such an important thing that the government gets involved and they do everything they can help out live venues. Obviously, the organizers in town, whether or not it's promoters or whether or not it's, you know, alternative newspapers or now blogs, podcasts, all that sort of thing. It's everyone's super stoked to be there and everyone's excited to be part of that family and that community. And I feel like where those music towns that I just described are places that have that infrastructure in place, and they can support those types of artists and that sort of community. Oh well, I mean, again, kind of like I said earlier, Revolt is yes a channel on TV. It is so much more than that as well. Obviously, we have this very strong presence on Twitter and Instagram. All that stuff's a no-brainer. It's just the way people communicate nowadays. It's not even a new thing or, hey, everything's shifting to that. It's just the way it is. It's the way that it's been for a while. It's the way that it's going to be. So it's important for us to have a presence everywhere. If only because that's how we communicate. That's how I communicate with my friends and my musical peers is, you know, I sometimes call them, but sort of, I'm much more likely to tweet at them or Instagram or anything like that. So that's just the way that we communicate with each other. So if we wanted to come and just make a TV station or a TV network, that would be a fail, and that would be disconnected. One of the most important things about Revolt is really keeping that ear to the ground on a grassroots level. That's the reason we're doing this bus tour, is to go out and shake hands, see those people face to face. But another way of communicating on a more mass level is things like Instagram, and Twitter, and Tumblr, and all that social media. We have a lot planned. It's overwhelming coming to Austin, as I'm sure you well know, for South by Southwest, because there are so many artists. There are so many events.
Everywhere.
You know, you could have a team of 200 people working around the clock, and there's no way you could cover everything that you wanted to cover. So we have handpicked a couple of different events that we are going to be at. We have also kind of left the door open a little bit. I feel like one of the beauties about South by Southwest is
always changing.
It's just it's discovery. You know, I've left tonight completely open just to walk down 6th Street and walk into a bar, hopefully see a new artist that I fall in love with, and then while I'm at that show, talk with someone and say, hey, well, if you like this, maybe you should go down to Stubbs or wherever and check this out. So I wanted to leave it open. They can always go to revolt.tv. If they're interested in our bus tour, they can use the hashtag revoltnation, or any of our Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff is at Revolt TV. We are on Time Warner, we are on Comcast, and we are expecting and hoping to be branching out further and further. If we are not on Revolt where you are, make sure you call your cable company and tell them to get Revolt. They'll be happy to take it.